Time to make space boring. I'm Jason Kanigan, the founder of Cold Star Technologies. Yes, we are on a mission to get user adoption of space-based products and services, people going to space jobs, so that the general public is using space and treating space the way that they do terrestrial Wi-Fi and public transit and that is good for everyone. So, who did I meet and what am I studying in the space world? That is exactly what this quick series is about, and it's good to keep track because otherwise I'll forget. I want to go back and look at this in a while, be able to pick out 3 or 4 people of a certain type, let's say. Listen, I like to network. I don't know if you guys do, but if you ever want me to connect folks with you of a certain type, message me and tell me, hey, I'm looking for certain people. So if you're a professor at a particular institution and you want to find out, say, manufacturers of, I don't know, solar detectors or something like that, or if you're looking for a particular type of mathematician who's good at solving a specific kind of problem, let me know, because I meet several people every day. Like, not just zip by, but actually talk to them. So who did I talk to in the last couple of days? We just had Thanksgiving here in the States, so yesterday was a day off. I still did work in the morning, but snuck away and had a great afternoon with some new friends. So let's see, I'm looking at my list here. Artemis Westenberg, she is head of the Explore Mars project, and that's based in the Netherlands. She's been doing this quite a long time. I watched a video or 2 of hers on YouTube about her talking, and their goal is to get humans on Mars by 2033, which I fully support. And the thing that I really resonated with reading through her description here on LinkedIn was the desire to get the public to buy into why it's important to go to Mars, and I completely agree with that. So hopefully she'll be booking to be on the show quite soon. Let's see, Dr. Paul van Susante. I hope I'm not mispronouncing that. He and I had a brief chat over LinkedIn Messenger. He's a professor at Michigan Technological University, and what is exciting for me about him is that he's a graduate all the way up to the doctorate level of the Colorado School of Mines, where Dr. Chris Dreyer is, who will be a guest. And so Paul has really been trained on that mining technology, and I think he'll make a great guest as well. He'll be booking at some point. And then to round up, Dr. Andy Spry, who's a senior scientist at SETI, so the search for extraterrestrial life there, and he's like a planetary biologist, microbiologist. He's all about planetary protection, which is an important issue, and I haven't had a guest on about it yet. I've met a few people in the field who are kind of a little bit not as interested in being in the public eye, you know, and coming on to talk about it. So Dr. Andy Spry, he should be booking to be on, and we'll have a great talk about how to stop cross-contamination of planetary, let's say, going to Mars and bringing microbes from the Earth there, or bringing something back from Mars, and how do you protect against that. So that's really cool. When I was in my 20s, I got into... For a while, I was on a kick about infectious diseases and that, and learned about, you know, the differences between bacterium and viruses. And there was a book that came out at the time called The Hot Zone that was insane. It was like the release of Ebola. Yeah, Richard Preston wrote this. It's called a non-fiction thriller. Well, that's interesting, about the accidental release of a virus from Reston, Virginia. And the funny thing is, in the meantime, I have, well, it's been 20 years, I've connected with scientists at that facility. So it's kind of interesting to go from being a college student and, oh, this is kind of, you know, although I know it's non-fiction, to me it is a story in my world, to, you know, hey, here are actual people working on this stuff over here that I know, and it becomes very virile very quickly. I'll tell you, one of the funny things that happened fairly early on in my study of space issues was learning about the need for a dual layer missile defense shield, because you know, when you're strategizing, you plan for capabilities, not for intention, right? And anybody who's read The Mote in God's Eye will know that. It doesn't really matter how good or evil or neutral your international opponents are, your geopolitical opponents are. You kind of have to plan for what they could do, not for what they will do. And so it may seem to some to be paranoid and maybe even wasteful to get a missile shield satellite system up there, but I agree with it, actually. I think it's a good idea. Once you start studying this stuff, you realize it's a pretty serious need quickly. And I was sharing this with a good friend of mine, and he said, aha, you are getting excited about what the nerds are excited about. You're worried about what they're worried about. I went, oh, well, is this a good thing or a bad thing? He said, no, it's good, because that's what people are studying. You know, the public is wandering around, doing their regular things, buying and selling and going out and having a good time and whatnot. Yet some people are worrying about and concerning themselves about their safety, right? So I'm a big believer on protecting people, and you know, they can run around inside the safety of the walls and do whatever they want and kind of live in a sort of oblivious mindset. Like I'm in a hop. This is going to be an interesting genre hop from space and technology to Lord of the Rings and the Hobbits. You know, the Hobbits live in the Shire, and they're in a very easy world where nothing bad really happens. And yet, to the north, there's all these guys like Aragorn, right? These rangers who are standing in the way of them and hordes of orcs that would occasionally come out of the hills in the north and would destroy the Shire if they could get at it. But there's this force in the way. And the hobbits in Tolkien's fictional world are completely oblivious to this. They really have no idea what's going on. And I feel that in a great sense, the public is in that mindset. They're like the hobbits, you know, and some of us have got to get up on the walls and man the ramparts and say, okay, we've got to do what needs to be done here. And I hope Congress starts making up its mind about this and really getting a move on it, because you know, yeah, it's good for jobs and it's good for the companies that are creating this thing. And building these satellites and developing these capabilities, but I think it's really necessary because, again, plan for the capabilities of your opponents, not for their intentions. So it's not like we should wander around the world feeling bad about other people and paranoid about what they might do, but the more you study about this thing, the more it becomes necessary. So anyway, I thought I'd do a little aside about that today. I've got some Make Space Boring news episodes or mini courses I need to work on. Hopefully I'll get a chance to address those over the weekend. But in the meantime, have a good weekend, and I'll see you Monday.